Aaron gripped the controls of his small spaceship as it shook violently in the thick atmosphere of the Amazon planet. Red warning lights flashed all around him, and alarms screamed in his ears. He had flown across countless galaxies, but nothing had prepared him for the green storm that now surrounded him. Enormous trees stretched higher than mountains, their leaves glowing faintly in colors he had never seen before. Mist clung to the air, thick and heavy, making it hard to see. The ship shuddered again as a massive branch slammed into the hull. Sparks flew, and a piece of metal tore away, leaving a jagged hole. Aaron's heart pounded. He tried to steady the ship, but the controls were failing. The engine sputtered and coughed. He knew he had only seconds to act. With a deep breath, he activated the emergency thrusters, hoping to land safely. The ship crashed through the thick jungle, smashing trees and kicking up clouds of dust and leaves. The impact was deafening, and for a moment, the world seemed to stop. When he opened his eyes, smoke rose from the damaged ship. Aaron groaned and pushed himself up. His body ached, but he was alive. The jungle stretched endlessly in every direction. Vines hung like ropes, and enormous leaves brushed against the ground. Strange calls echoed from unseen creatures. Aaron realized he was completely alone, or at least, he thought he was. From the shadows, tall figures began to emerge. Their skin was a deep green, blending almost perfectly with the jungle. They moved gracefully, their steps quiet and precise. Aaron froze. The tallest among them held a long staff, watching him carefully. Then, a deep voice spoke, calm but commanding. "We have waited 200 years for you," it said. Aaron's eyes widened in shock. The voice belonged to the figure with the staff. His face was lined with age, but his eyes were sharp and alert. "You are the one," the figure continued. "The one to begin the hunt." Aaron's mouth went dry. "The hunt?" he asked, unsure what he had gotten himself into. The chief nodded slowly. "Yes, our ancestors predicted your arrival. For 2 centuries, we have prepared. Now the time has come. You will learn the ways of the hunt, or you will be lost to the jungle forever." Aaron's mind raced. He had traveled to explore unknown planets, but he had never expected anything like this. The chief's gaze was steady and unyielding. There was no turning back. Suddenly, something moved in the thick undergrowth. Strange, glowing creatures darted through the trees. Their eyes shone like tiny stars. Aaron could feel the jungle itself watching him. It was alive, aware of his every movement. The chief motioned for him to follow. "Come," he said. "The hunt begins at sunset." Aaron struggled to his feet and followed the chief. Every step through the jungle was difficult. The ground was soft and slippery, covered with moss and fallen leaves. Strange noises surrounded them. Some were melodic, some sharp and frightening. Aaron realized this jungle was different from any other. Every plant, every animal, seemed to have a purpose. As they walked, the chief spoke. "The hunt is not only about skill. Courage, intelligence, and respect for the jungle are more important than strength. Those who fail are never seen again." Aaron shivered at the warning. The sun began to set, and the jungle transformed. Shadows stretched across the ground, twisting among the trees. Tiny glowing insects flew like sparks of light. The air became thick and heavy, carrying the scent of wet earth and blooming flowers. Finally, they reached a clearing. In the center, stone pillars formed a circle. The chief gestured for Aaron to sit. "Rest now," he said. "Tomorrow the hunt begins. Your arrival was foretold, and the jungle waits for your first step." Aaron sat quietly, feeling both fear and curiosity. The jungle seemed to whisper secrets in a language he could not understand. Somewhere deep inside, he felt a mixture of thrill and terror. The hunt was coming, and he was at the center of it. Morning broke over the jungle, casting golden light across the leaves. Aaron awoke on the soft moss of the clearing, the sound of birds and insects filling the air. His body still ached from the crash, but the excitement of the day ahead pushed him forward. The chief was already standing, watching him with calm eyes. "Today," the chief said, "you will learn the ways of the jungle. Every plant, every animal, every sound has meaning. If you ignore them, the hunt will not forgive you." Aaron nodded, eager but nervous. The chief led him deeper into the jungle. The trees towered above, their branches forming a green ceiling. Sunlight barely reached the ground, creating patches of light and shadow. Aaron tried to memorize every detail, knowing his survival depended on it. "Listen carefully," the chief said. "The jungle speaks. Every rustle, every whisper tells a story." He pointed to a bush. "See that? Those leaves move not because of the wind, but because of the small creatures beneath. Some are harmless. Others can be dangerous. You must learn to tell the difference." Aaron crouched, watching the bush. Tiny insects crawled along the branches, and he noticed a bright red one with a sharp stinger. The chief's eyes followed his. "That one is poisonous. Step too close, and it will harm you. Respect it, and it will not attack." As they walked, the chief taught him how to move silently through the jungle. "Step lightly," he said. "Do not break branches or crush leaves unnecessarily. The jungle is alive, and it notices your presence. Animals will hide. Some will approach. You must know the difference." They reached a small river, its water sparkling under the sunlight. The chief knelt and scooped some water into his hands. "Drink," he said. Aaron followed, surprised by the cool, refreshing taste. "The jungle provides," the chief explained. "But always check carefully. Not every water source is safe." As they continued, the chief showed Aaron different plants. Some were edible, some could be used for medicine, and some could be used as tools or weapons. Aaron tried to memorize them all. He could feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The hunt was not just a test of courage. It was a test of knowledge and respect for this world. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the trees, a low, growling rumble. Aaron froze. The chief raised his hand. From the shadows emerged a large, feline-like creature with glowing eyes. Its fur shimmered with colors that seemed to change as it moved. Aaron held his breath. "Do not run," the chief whispered. "Observe, learn." The creature circled them, sniffing the air. Aaron noticed its movements were precise, careful, almost curious. He remembered the chief's words, "The jungle speaks." Slowly, he crouched lower, keeping his eyes on the creature. After a tense moment, it turned and disappeared into the trees. "Fear is natural," the chief said. "But fear without understanding is dangerous. Respect all life, and you will survive. Disrespect it, and the jungle will remind you of its power." Hours passed, and Aaron learned to identify tracks on the ground. The difference between poisonous and harmless plants and the calls of different creatures. His mind felt full, but he also felt more confident. Slowly, he realized that the jungle was not just a place to survive. It was a teacher. As the sun began to set, the chief stopped near a large tree. "Tonight," he said, "you will sleep here. Rest, but do not let your guard down. The hunt is coming. Tomorrow, your first challenge begins. You must move carefully, think quickly, and always listen to the jungle." Aaron lay down beneath the tree, looking up at the glowing leaves. The jungle was alive, whispering secrets, and he was ready to learn. Somewhere deep inside, he felt excitement mixed with fear. The hunt was no longer just a story. It was real, and it was waiting for him. He closed his eyes, letting the sounds of the jungle surround him. Every rustle, every chirp, every whisper was a lesson. and he promised himself he would not fail. The sun rose slowly over the Amazon planet, casting soft light across the jungle. Aaron stretched, feeling the stiffness in his muscles from yesterday's long walk. He had learned much from the chief, but he knew today would be different. Today, the hunt would truly begin. The chief stood waiting, calm as ever. "Follow me," he said. Aaron nodded, swallowing his nervousness. They walked deeper into the jungle, where the trees grew taller and the air felt thicker. Strange calls echoed around them, and the sunlight barely touched the ground. Aaron's senses were alert, remembering every lesson from the previous day. After some time, they reached a wide clearing. In the center stood a circle of stones, each one smooth and covered with moss. The chief turned to Aaron. "Your first challenge is simple in words, but not in practice," he said. "You must cross the clearing safely. The jungle has many eyes. It will test your ability to observe, to think, and to move carefully." Aaron looked around. The clearing seemed quiet, but he knew appearances could be deceiving. The chief motioned for him to start. Aaron took a deep breath and stepped forward. The ground beneath him was uneven, hidden by thick moss and fallen leaves. He moved slowly, listening. A slight rustle to his left made him freeze. A small creature, no bigger than a rabbit, darted across his path. Its eyes glowed faintly. He remembered the chief's lesson. Observe. Do not panic. He continued, moving carefully, noting every sound. Suddenly, a vine shot up from the ground, twisting toward him. Aaron jumped back, heart racing. He realized the jungle was alive in ways he had not imagined. Every step was a choice. Every sound was a warning. He crouched low and continued, keeping his movements quiet. A few minutes later, he noticed footprints in the soft earth. They were unlike anything he had seen before, large, three-toed marks with sharp edges. He followed them carefully, curious but cautious. The footprints led him toward a cluster of glowing plants. Their light was beautiful but eerie. He recalled the chief's warning. Not everything beautiful is safe. He circled the plants, careful not to touch them. As he moved past, a shadow fell across the clearing. Aaron froze. High above, a large bird-like creature with wings shimmering in green and gold swooped down. Its eyes locked on him. Aaron remembered to stay calm. He slowly lowered himself, keeping his body still. The creature hovered for a moment, then turned and disappeared into the trees. His heart pounded, but he had passed the first test of observation. The chief's voice came from behind. "You see, Aaron, the jungle tests both your mind and your courage. Fear can blind you. Awareness will guide you. Every step, every choice matters." Aaron nodded, feeling both relief and pride. He had learned to move carefully, to observe, and to respect the jungle's power. The clearing, which had seemed simple, had tested him in ways he had not expected. They continued walking, and soon they reached a small stream. The water was clear, and fish swam lazily beneath the surface. "Your next lesson," the chief said, "is patience. The hunt is not always about speed or strength. Sometimes it is about waiting, watching, and understanding. Sit here and observe the creatures. Learn from them." Aaron knelt by the stream. He watched the fish, noting how they moved together and avoided danger. Birds landed nearby, calling to each other, then flew away at the slightest noise. Aaron realized that every living thing in this jungle was connected. Each had a purpose, and survival depended on respect and observation. As the sun began to set, the chief spoke again. "You have done well today. You survived the first challenge because you were careful and aware. Tomorrow, the hunt will become more difficult. You will face tests that challenge your courage, your wisdom, and your ability to adapt." Aaron felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had passed the first trial, but he knew the jungle still held many surprises. The lessons he had learned today were only the beginning. Somewhere deep in the jungle, the hunt was waiting, and he would need every skill he had learned to succeed. That night, Aaron lay under the glowing leaves, thinking about the day. The jungle whispered around him, alive and mysterious. He felt a deep respect for the planet and a growing determination to face the hunt with courage and wisdom. Tomorrow, the real journey would begin. Morning came quietly over the Amazon planet. The jungle was alive with sounds, the rustle of leaves, the distant calls of creatures, and the soft trickle of water in hidden streams. Aaron woke feeling a mix of anticipation and nervousness. Today, the hunt would test him in a way he had not yet experienced. The chief waited by a narrow path that led deeper into the jungle. "Follow me," he said. "Today, you will face your first real danger." This is not a lesson about knowledge alone. It is about courage, quick thinking, and trust in yourself. Aaron nodded, gripping a small wooden staff the chief had given him. They walked through the dense trees, the air thick and humid. Strange flowers with glowing petals lit their path, and vines hung like ropes from high branches. Every step felt heavier than the last, as though the jungle itself were pressing in on him. Suddenly, the chief stopped. "Here," he whispered. Aaron looked ahead and saw a deep ravine. A narrow log stretched across it, acting as a bridge. Beneath it, a fast-moving river roared, swirling with currents and rocks. Aaron's heart pounded. One wrong step, and he could fall. "You must cross carefully," the chief said. "Do not rush. Trust your balance and your instincts. The jungle watches your every move." Aaron took a deep breath and stepped onto the log. It wobbled slightly under his weight, and he gripped his staff tightly. Slowly, he inched forward, focusing on the texture of the wood beneath his feet and the movement of the branches above. Halfway across, the log shifted, and a small bird-like creature swooped close, startling him. Aaron froze, teetering dangerously. He remembered the chief's words, "Fear can blind you." He steadied himself, lowered his center of gravity, and continued. Inch by inch, he made it to the other side. A wave of relief washed over him, but he knew the challenge was far from overdone. As they continued, the jungle grew darker. The trees were so thick that sunlight barely reached the ground. Strange noises echoed all around them. Then, from the shadows, a rustling sound grew louder, like something large moving quickly through the undergrowth. Aaron's heart skipped a beat. Suddenly, a massive four-legged creature burst into view. Its skin was dark green with streaks of gold, and its eyes glowed in the dim light. Aaron froze, unsure what to do. The creature growled softly, sniffing the air. He remembered the chief's lessons. Observe, do not panic, and respect the jungle. Slowly, Aaron crouched and held his staff in front of him, trying to appear calm. The creature moved closer, its gaze fixed on him. It was intelligent, cautious, and aware of every movement. Aaron realized this was not a mindless attack. It was a test. He remembered what the chief had said about patience and observation. He shifted slightly, making himself smaller and quieter. The creature circled him, sniffing, then paused. After a tense moment, it turned and disappeared into the trees, leaving Aaron shaken but unharmed. The chief appeared beside him. "You see, Aaron," he said, "danger is part of the hunt. It is not always about fighting. Sometimes it is about understanding, waiting, and choosing the right moment. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to act despite it." Aaron nodded, feeling a new confidence rising within him. He had faced his first real danger and survived by thinking clearly and respecting the jungle. He understood now that every challenge would require both his mind and his heart. The chief led him to a small clearing near a waterfall. "Rest here," he said. "Today you have learned about balance, courage, and observation. Tomorrow, The hunt will test your speed and decision-making. The jungle always watches, always teaches, and always rewards those who are patient and careful. Aaron sat by the waterfall, letting the cool mist refresh him. He thought about the day, the log, the creature, and the lessons he had learned. He realized that the jungle was not his enemy. It was a guide, a teacher, and a challenge all at once. As night fell, Aaron lay beneath the glowing leaves, listening to the sounds of the jungle. He felt a deep respect for the planet and a determination to face every challenge with courage and wisdom. The hunt had only just begun, and he was ready for whatever came next. The next morning, Aaron woke early, feeling stronger and more confident than the day before. The jungle was alive with sounds, the songs of birds, the calls of distant creatures, and the whisper of leaves in the wind. He stretched and followed the chief, ready for another lesson in the hunt. This morning, the chief said, "You will explore a part of the jungle alone. You must observe, listen, and learn. The jungle will show you secrets, but only if you pay attention." Aaron nodded, gripping his staff. The thought of being alone in such a strange place made his stomach tighten, but he remembered the lessons so far: patience, courage, and awareness. The chief gave him a small pouch of food and water, then motioned toward a narrow path leading deeper into the trees. "Return by sunset," he said. "And remember, the jungle watches everything." As Aaron walked, the sunlight filtered through the canopy in golden streaks. The jungle seemed quieter than before, but every sound was sharper: the rustle of leaves, the snap of a twig, and the distant splash of water. He moved carefully, stepping over roots and moss-covered stones. He noticed small footprints of creatures he had never seen before and stopped to study them. Each track told a story: where the creature had come from, what it had done, and where it was going. After some time, Aaron came to a hidden grove. The trees were taller here, and the air was cool and still. In the center of the grove was a strange plant with silver leaves that shimmered like glass. Aaron had never seen anything like it. The leaves seemed to glow even in the soft light, and tiny lights floated around the plant, as if it were surrounded by tiny stars. Curiosity filled him. He approached carefully, remembering the chief's warning: respect everything. He studied the plant and noticed small marks on the ground around it, tiny footprints, perhaps of a creature that lived there. Suddenly, he heard a soft humming sound, like a song from the jungle itself. It was beautiful and gentle, but it made the hairs on his arms stand on end. Aaron knelt beside the plant and examined it. He realized this grove was not just beautiful, it was important. The plant and its surroundings seemed to be part of something larger, a secret the jungle was keeping. He took out a small notebook from his pouch and carefully sketched the plant and the grove. As he finished, a movement caught his eye. From behind a large tree, a small creature emerged. Its body was covered in soft, glowing fur, and its eyes were round and intelligent. It watched Aaron with curiosity, tilting its head. Aaron stayed still, remembering the lesson of patience. The creature stepped closer, sniffed the air, then vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Aaron smiled to himself. He realized that the jungle was testing him in new ways, not with danger, but with observation and understanding. It was teaching him to notice what others might miss, to respect all life, and to look for patterns and secrets. He explored the grove further and discovered a hidden path behind a thick curtain of vines. Carefully, he pushed the vines aside and saw a small stone structure covered in moss. It looked ancient, almost forgotten. Strange symbols were carved into the stone, glowing faintly in the soft light. Aaron ran his fingers over the carvings, trying to understand their meaning. The jungle had led him here, showing him a hidden secret that had been protected for centuries. Aaron spent the rest of the morning exploring the grove and the hidden structure. He felt a growing connection to the jungle, as if it trusted him to learn its lessons and respect its secrets. He realized that the hunt was not just about surviving or completing challenges. It was about understanding the jungle and working with it. As the sun began to set, Aaron retraced his steps and returned to the path. The chief was waiting, as promised. "You have found the secret of the grove," he said, his voice calm but proud. "Few are able to see what is hidden. You have done well. Tomorrow the hunt will become more dangerous, and you will need the knowledge you gained today." Aaron nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and anticipation. The jungle had shown him its secrets, and he had learned to observe, respect, and trust himself. He realized that every step in the hunt would test him in new ways, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. That night, as he rested under the glowing leaves, Aaron thought about the hidden grove and the ancient stone structure. The jungle whispered softly around him, alive and mysterious. He understood now that the hunt was more than a test, it was a journey, and he was only at the beginning. The morning air was thick with mist as Aaron awoke. The jungle felt different today, heavier and more alive. The sounds of distant animals echoed like music, and sunlight struggled to reach the forest floor. Aaron stretched and tightened the straps of his small pack. Today, the chief had promised he would face his first major obstacle in the hunt. The chief waited near a narrow path that twisted deep into the jungle. "Today," he said, "you will face a challenge that tests your courage, your observation, and your decision-making. The jungle will not make it easy. Trust yourself, Aaron, and respect its lessons." Aaron nodded and followed him quietly. Every step was careful. He remembered the lessons from the first days. Move slowly, observe everything, and never act in fear. The jungle seemed almost alive, watching him. Leaves rustled softly, and small animals darted through the shadows. After some time, they reached a cliff that overlooked a wide valley. A river wound through the valley like a silver ribbon. Between Aaron and the other side was a thick wall of vines and trees, almost impossible to cross. The chief pointed to a narrow path winding down the cliff. "Your task is to cross this valley safely and return. You will face obstacles, and you must use your knowledge and courage." Aaron felt a thrill mixed with fear. The path down was steep, slick with moss, and the jungle seemed to press in from all sides. He gripped his staff tightly and began the careful descent. Each step required balance and attention. One slip could mean a long fall into the valley below. Halfway down, a swarm of small, glowing insects rose from the ground. They surrounded him, buzzing softly. Aaron froze, remembering the lessons about observation. He noticed that the insects avoided the mossy stones he had stepped on. Slowly, he moved in small steps, staying on the safe patches, and the insects parted around in dot. As he reached the bottom of the cliff, he entered the thick jungle again. The trees grew so close that sunlight barely reached the ground. Suddenly, he heard the sound of rushing water nearby. Following the noise, he came to a fast-moving river cutting across the valley. There was no bridge, only slippery rocks and fallen logs. Aaron studied the river. He noticed some rocks were stable, while others shifted under weight. He took a deep breath and tested each step carefully. One wrong move could sweep him away. Inch by inch, he crossed the river, feeling his heart pound with every careful step. Once across, the jungle seemed quieter, but Aaron knew better than to relax. From the shadows, he saw movement-large, four-legged creatures with sleek bodies and golden eyes. They watched him silently, circling at a distance. Aaron crouched low, keeping his staff ready but not moving aggressively. He remembered the lessons of respect and patience. After a tense moment, the creatures disappeared into the trees, leaving him unharmed. Finally, he reached the far edge of the valley. The chief appeared, smiling slightly. "You have done well," he said. "You faced fear, observation challenges, and quick decisions. The jungle tested your courage and your wisdom. Few passed this obstacle without hesitation. Aaron felt a rush of pride and relief. He had learned that the hunt was not about fighting or rushing. It was about understanding, patience, and trust in his own abilities. The jungle had tested him, and he had responded correctly. As the sun began to set, they returned to the small clearing near the waterfall. Aaron sat quietly, letting the cool mist wash over him. The chief spoke softly. "Tomorrow the hunt will test your ability to work with time and strategy. You will need everything you have learned so far." Aaron nodded. He understood now that the hunt was not just about surviving each day. It was about learning, growing, and respecting the jungle in every way. The obstacles were not enemies, but teachers, guiding him to become stronger and wiser. That night, under the glowing leaves, Aaron thought about the valley, the river, and the creatures. The jungle whispered around him, alive and mysterious. He felt more confident than ever, ready to face the next challenge and continue the journey of the hunt. The morning sun filtered through the jungle canopy, casting golden light on the leaves. Aaron awoke feeling both excitement and tension. Today, the chief had said, he would face a critical test, one that would determine if he was ready for the next stage of the hunt. The chief waited near the edge of a clearing, his staff resting against his shoulder. "Today, you will face a challenge that requires all your skills," he said. "Courage, observation, patience, and quick thinking will be tested. The jungle will not make this easy, but you must remember everything you have learned." Aaron nodded, gripping his staff tightly. He followed the chief down a narrow path, the jungle growing denser with each step. Strange sounds echoed around them, calls of unseen creatures, the rustle of leaves, and the distant splash of water. The air was thick and heavy, and the sunlight barely reached the forest floor. After a long walk, they reached a wide clearing surrounded by enormous trees. In the center was a shallow pit, filled with thick mist that swirled like smoke. Around the edges, vines and roots twisted unpredictably. The chief stopped and looked at Aaron. "Your task," he said, "is to reach the other side safely. The jungle will test your mind and body. Pay attention to every detail. One mistake could cost you dearly." Aaron stepped forward carefully. The ground was slippery, and the vines moved slightly as if alive. He remembered the lessons about observation. He noticed patterns in the mist, how it moved around certain roots and stones. Using this knowledge, he picked a path that seemed safer, moving slowly and deliberately. Halfway through the clearing, he heard a rustling from above. Branches swayed, and glowing creatures darted through the trees. One of them, a bird with bright, shimmering feathers, swooped low, almost brushing his head. Aaron froze but stayed calm. He watched its movements, realizing it was guiding him, not attacking. He adjusted his steps according to the bird's flight and continued. Then, a low growl came from the mist. Aaron's heart raced. A creature, large and sleek, emerged from the fog. Its eyes glowed like amber, and it moved silently across the ground. Aaron crouched, keeping his staff ready but not making sudden movements. He remembered the chief's words. Courage is acting wisely, not recklessly. The creature circled him slowly, testing his reactions. Aaron held his ground, breathing steadily. He noticed its pauses and adjusted his position, stepping carefully around twisted roots and slippery moss. After what felt like an eternity, the creature stopped, sniffed the air, and disappeared back into the mist. Aaron exhaled, his hands trembling slightly from relief and adrenaline. The final part of the test was crossing a narrow path, over a small stream filled with smooth stones. Each step required balance and concentration. Aaron moved slowly, 1 foot at a time, testing each stone before placing his weight. A sudden splash from a jumping fish startled him, but he stayed focused, remembering the lessons of patience and observation. Finally, he reached the other side of the clearing. The chief was waiting, a faint smile on his face. "You have done well," he said. "You faced fear, observed carefully, and acted with patience and courage. This is what the hunt demands." Few succeed in this test on the first try. Aaron felt a rush of pride and relief. He realized that the jungle was not an enemy. It was a teacher, and every challenge had a lesson. The critical test had shown him his strengths and weaknesses, and he felt ready for whatever lay ahead. As they walked back to the clearing near the waterfall, the chief spoke softly. "Tomorrow, the hunt will reach a new stage. You will need all that you have learned and more. The jungle will push you further, but I know you are ready." Aaron nodded, feeling both excitement and determination. He had faced his first true test, and he had succeeded. The jungle whispered around him, alive and mysterious, promising new challenges and secrets. He understood now that the hunt was more than a trial. It was a journey of growth, courage, and discovery. That night, under the glowing leaves, Aaron reflected on the day. Every rustle, every whisper, every challenge had taught him something important. The hunt was far from over, but he felt stronger, wiser, and ready for what was to come. The jungle was quiet in the early morning, with only the soft hum of insects and the distant calls of birds. Aaron woke with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Today was the final stage of the hunt, the moment he had trained for and feared at the same time. The chief was waiting at the edge of the clearing, his staff resting against his shoulder. "Today," the chief said, "you will face the ultimate challenge. The jungle will test everything you have learned: observation, patience, courage, and wisdom. The hunt ends only when you understand the true meaning of its lessons." Aaron nodded, gripping his staff tightly. The path ahead led deep into the heart of the jungle, where the trees were taller, the shadows darker, and the sounds stranger. Every step felt heavier, as if the jungle itself were watching him, guiding him, and testing him at the same time. After walking for some time, they reached a large clearing surrounded by massive vines and glowing flowers. In the center, there was a circle of stones, each carved with strange symbols that shimmered faintly in the sunlight. The chief motioned for Aaron to step forward. "Your task," the chief said, "is to reach the center and uncover the secret that lies within this place. You must move carefully, think wisely, and trust both your knowledge and your instincts." Aaron stepped cautiously onto the clearing. The ground beneath him was soft but covered with roots and small plants. Each step required careful observation. He noticed the vines moving slightly, as if alive, and the glowing flowers seemed to shift when he looked away. He remembered the lessons of patience and respect. The jungle was alive, and it was testing him. Halfway to the center, he heard a soft rustle behind him. He turned slowly and saw a large, shadowy creature emerging from the trees. Its eyes glowed faintly, and it moved with silent grace. Aaron froze but kept calm, remembering that courage was not absence of fear, but acting wisely despite it. The creature circled him, watching, and then stepped aside as if giving him permission to continue. Aaron took a deep breath and moved forward, careful with each step. He noticed patterns in the movements of the vines and plants. Finding a safe path to the center of the circle. At last, he reached the center. The stones around him glowed brighter, and the symbols seemed to form a path of light. Aaron knelt and touched the stones. Suddenly, the jungle seemed to shift, revealing a small, hidden pool of water. Its surface reflected the sky, the trees, and Aaron himself. The chief stepped forward. "The hunt is not about conquering the jungle," he said. "It is about understanding it, respecting life, observing carefully, acting with courage, and trusting yourself. This is the meaning of the hunt. You have learned these lessons well. Aaron, you have succeeded." Aaron looked into the pool and felt a deep sense of peace. The jungle was no longer just a place of danger and challenge. It was a teacher, a guide, and a friend. He realized that every obstacle, every creature, and every secret had been part of the journey to understanding. The chief smiled. "You are ready now," he said. "The hunt ends not with a single victory, but with knowledge and respect. The jungle has accepted you. You are part of it, and it is part of you." Aaron felt a rush of pride and relief. He had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and he had grown stronger, wiser, and more aware. He had learned to listen, observe, and act with care. The jungle had tested him, and he had passed Dot as the sun began to set. Casting warm light across the clearing, Aaron stood and looked around. The jungle seemed alive, almost smiling at him. He understood now that the hunt was not about winning or losing, but about learning, growing, and respecting the world around him. The chief placed a hand on his shoulder. "The hunt has ended," he said, "but your journey is only beginning. Remember what you have learned here. Carry it with you wherever you go. The jungle will always be part of you, and you will always be part of it." Aaron nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. He had arrived on this Amazon planet as a stranger, unsure of what to expect. Now, he felt connected to something larger, wiser, and more alive than he had ever imagined. The hunt had changed him, and he knew he would never forget its lessons. That night, Aaron rested under the glowing leaves, listening to the whispers of the jungle. Every sound, every shadow, every glow reminded him of what he had learned. He felt strong, confident, and ready for whatever came next. The hunt was over, but the journey of life and understanding had only just begun.